Phyllis, and we are going to make a pineapple cake today. Now, this cake is really from the 1950s for sure, and the icing is going to be made with egg whites. And this is the kind my mother used to make. I don't think she ever made any other kind of cake but this cake. Well, one time I think she made a devil's food cake with the same type icing. Anyway, the icing is going to be made from egg whites. Now, it's really not that 7-minute icing, but it's very similar to that. But anyway, the cake we're going to make is going to be a very rich cake, and it's going to have half and half in it. So we're ready to get started already. Alright, first thing you'll need is 1/4 cup of butter that's just slightly melted or soft. And I just put mine in the microwave for about 20 seconds or less. And that way it's not really hot and slightly melted. Now to this we're going to add 1½ cups of just regular sugar. I'm just going to mix that around a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and put in 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I'm using sea salt, so that's why I put it in at this point rather than putting it in with the flour, because it's a little harder to dissolve. Alright, now to this we're going to add 4 whole eggs. Just dump those right in, all at one time. Just mix that around a little bit to get that sugar into the liquid. And now I'm also going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Just mix that in a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to put the hand mixer in here and get this all mixed up in sort of a light lemony color. And that'll take me probably, I'm going to guess and say about 3 minutes, and we'll be back. Okay, we have thoroughly beaten our eggs, sugar, vanilla, and salt until it's foamy and sort of a lemony color. Alright, now we're ready for our dry ingredients, plus we're going to use 1 cup of half and half. Now, when we used to get milk, you know, raw milk really, from my grandmother, and sometimes from my uncle, it would have the cream floating on top, and you'd just dip part of it off and then use the regular milk below it, and that would have made this recipe. But of course, I don't have access to that kind of milk anymore. So, you just use half and half. That'll work perfect. Alright, so we need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and this needs to be sifted first and then measured. So that's 2 cups. And you'll need 3 teaspoons of baking powder. Make sure it's powder, not baking soda, baking powder. So I'm going to just dump that right in and just use my little whisk and mix that all around in the flour. Now, because the flour has been sifted, of course, you have far less lumps in it. Because the flour, when you get it from the store, it's usually all packed down, and that's what it'll do when you measure it out of the bag too, unless you sift it first. That way you'll have the right measurement. Okay, so we're going to start out by putting in about 1/3 of the flour. Just use the spatula and just kind of get it somewhat incorporated into your egg and butter mixture and sugar. Now, the reason you beat the eggs and the butter and the sugar is to try and get that sugar somewhat dissolved. because the cake will turn out a lot better, so you can beat it for a very long time when you're beating in the eggs, butter, and sugar. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and add part of the 1 cup of half and half. Now this is going to be a batter that's going to be runny, almost like pancake batter is what it reminds me of. So just mix that milk in a little bit. Now we're going to add more flour, about 1/3 more. And this is a very rich layer cake. I say very rich because it's got double the amount of eggs you would normally put in a layer cake. And I am going to use my new cake pans. I made this cake a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't get my icing to turn out like my mother's did. So I just decided not to post that video and just try again. So this will be my second try on this particular cake. Alright, going to put in a little more of the milk. Mix that in. And you want your last thing that you put into the batter to be flour. Alright, so I'm going to put the rest of the milk in now, or the half and half really. And now we're going to put the rest of the flour in. And I'm just using the spatula because I don't want to sling this flour all over my kitchen. Well, there goes my buzzer for my laundry. It's ready in the dryer. Alright, let's see if we can't put the mixer in here now, just enough to get that flour thoroughly mixed in. And I'll stir down the sides just a little bit. This is actually a lot like that Belgian waffle recipe I do. In fact, it reminds me of that. Alright, that's all we need. Now we're ready to put it in the pans. Now I am using my new cake pans. Wipe this flour up. And I wanted to show you how these work. See how rounded the bottom is? Well, when you go to make a 2-layer cake, you'll want to make sure the rounded part is on the bottom and the flatter part is on top, and then you can put your next layer on and actually reverse it. That's what will work. Alright, and I'm going to show you that these pans, of course they're already greased and floured. I've got some Amazon icons on my website, and I've actually went ahead and made a page for stainless steel bakeware, so you can go there, click on that Amazon, and that's where you can buy these. And by the way, they were very inexpensive, stainless steel, made in India, and they're heavier than most cake pans are. So they really should last a lifetime, pretty much. Alright, so now I'm going to split this batter up between these two pans. Now these are 9-inch cake pans. It's kind of hard sometimes to get it evenly distributed. Now it's very liquidy cake batter. This is not going to be like a cake mix batter. And if you've got a few little flour lumps in there, don't worry about it because they will go away as soon as the cake starts cooking. Now I've got my oven set for 350 degrees, and these cake layers take 35 even to 40 minutes depending on your oven. And I think in my oven they cook in about 35 minutes. Now to sort of tell if they're even in there, you just want to sort of pick them up and just feel, see if they feel even. Now, because my oven, let me back up some. Because my oven isn't exactly even, what I do after about 15 minutes or sometimes only 10 minutes of baking, I just reach in the oven and turn the cake pans exactly 1/2 turn. That way my cakes will be even. All right, when these get done and we're ready to make the icing, we'll be back. Okay, the cakes are done, and mine actually cooked for about 30 minutes in my oven. Now, I'm going to let these cool about 5 minutes in the pan. Then I'm going to turn them out on the little cooling rack and let them completely cool. And we will be back and do the icing in just a few minutes. Okay, my cakes are cooling, the 2 layers, and one of them isn't exactly level, but that's what I have to deal with my oven. All right, we are ready to start this icing. So what you'll need is just a regular saucepan, and in there you want to put 2 tablespoons of water, one-half cup of just granulated sugar, and 1/4 cup of light Karo syrup or corn syrup. There it is. And just dump that in. Now this is going to make the syrup to pour over our beaten egg whites. And it's going to take a little while for this to cook and reach the soft boil stage. So now I'm going to turn my burner on medium. Just stir that around a little bit. You don't have to stir it around much. And as soon as it starts getting dissolved a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put a lid on it and let it boil. Alright, so we want this to boil. Now, this is the hardest part about making this icing, getting the syrup exactly right. Now, I made this about 2 weeks ago, I think it's been now. And I let my syrup get too hard. And the reason is because I use this little candy thermometer, and apparently my thermometer had gotten a little water in there, and that little measurement thing kind of slipped down, so I actually cooked my syrup to the hard crack stage. And it should only be cooked to the soft boil stage, which is 242 degrees. So this time I'm not going to worry about my candy thermometer. I'm just going to do it, just let a little drip in a cup of or a little bowl of cool water until it gets to the soft boil stage. Now the soft boil stage means you can pick it up and kind of roll it around a little bit in your fingers, but you can also mash it flat. That's what the soft boil stage is. Alright, so when this gets about ready, we'll be back. Now in the meantime, in this large bowl, I'm going to beat 2 egg whites. Now these egg whites are at room temperature, and I'm going to beat these to the soft peak stage. So they'll be ready for me to pour in my syrup once the syrup gets ready. Alright, so again, I'm going to beat my egg whites and we'll be back. Now the other thing you'll need, so I don't forget, is 1 teaspoon of vanilla after we've beaten the egg whites and poured the syrup in. Alright, I'll be back and show you how to do this. Okay, my syrup for my icing is at a steady boil now, And this is when you want to take the lid off, and so some of that liquid can evaporate. Now the reason you put the lid on it to start with is you don't want any sugar crystals forming around the outside of the pot, that little edge there. Alright, I've beaten my egg whites to soft peaks, so now it's just a matter of waiting until this gets to the soft ball stage, which should be maybe another couple of minutes. Okay, the little syrup has reached the soft ball stage. See that? Let's see if you can see that. But I can still mash it flat with my finger. See? That's what you're looking for, and all you need to do is just drip it off the spoon into a little bowl of cool water, and then see if you can pick it up and form a little ball. And if you can, that means it's ready. It actually stuck to the other little ball. Okay. There's the little, can you see that? There's a little ball right there. And I can still mash it flat. So you want to go ahead and cut your burner off. And now we're going to pour this in a real thin little stream over the egg whites as we're beating them. So we'll try to get this so you can see it. There, make them closer. All right there. All right, now this is the hard part. So you need to go ahead and get your mixer going. Now just going to pour it in a real small little stream. Now that actually cooks the egg whites, so I'm going to see if I can get a little more out of here. Just a teeny bit more. And you want to make sure that mixer is running. Get it out like that. There we go. The bowl is fairly hot now from that really hot syrupy mixture. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of vanilla and mix that up. Okay, so there you have it. Now, some people call this, I think they call it white mountain frosting. Now, if you make the 7-minute frosting, which turns out similar to this, you'll have to use a double boiler. And one thing I want to point out, make sure your beaters are free of any kind of grease at all. And also your bowl needs to be super clean to make those egg whites beat up really good. Alright, so we're ready to start putting this cake together. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my layer down on my little cake container bottom. And because these cake pans make a rounded edge, see, it's rounded, I'm going to put the other side down first and just kind of center it. And mine's a little lopsided, it's a little further down there. Now, this is a 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple with the juice. Now, I ended up having to get the can with the Splenda in it because they didn't have anything else. So, it's a 20-ounce can. Let me see if you can see that. Don't see it on there. But anyway, it is 20 ounces. And you don't want to drain it, you want the juice too. Now what I'm going to do is spoon a little more than half right on this bottom layer. And just spread it out. Now you want to get the juice too. So I'm going to do just a little more than half on the bottom. And this juice is going to sink all into the cake and make it super, super delicious. All right. Well, we're ready to put on our next layer. And this layer did turn out right. Now see, once again, I'm going to use my rounded edge for the top of it. That way they fit together better. All right, now we're ready for the rest of the pineapple. I'm just going to rake that out on there. Juice and all. Bad place on the pineapple there. Then you want to just spread that pineapple out a bit. All right. Now we're going to put our icing right on top of this. And you want to make sure if you use a spatula to put the icing on, it really could have grease on it, so it's really better if you just use a spoon. So I'm going to just dip that right on top. Just spread it around right over that coconut. As best you can now. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and start doing the sides by just throwing it kind of on there. Now some of the pineapple gets mixed in, it's okay. Just leave it. This is a very old-fashioned type of pineapple cake. And this is how my grandmother made it, and my mother made it this way. Now, when my mother made it and when grandmother made it, the cake never lasted more than a day. But you can keep this in the refrigerator and it'll still be good for a couple of days, but the icing does start kind of going away after a while, so you don't want to leave it too long. Now, if y'all remember your mother making this cake, how about leave me a comment, because I would love to hear from you. My mother usually made this cake on Sunday. Well, for Sunday lunch, she would make it in the morning and we would have it for dessert. And then there'd be some left. There were 5 children, so there wouldn't be much left, but by that night, the cake would all be gone. Alright, so we're just going to smooth that out over that pineapple on the top. Now this will be a super moist cake. Now some people do use a cake mix to make this. I don't think it's nearly as good when you use a cake mix. Alright, now a little bit of the pineapple showing through, but that's the way we want it, just a little bit. Get a little more out of here. And there you have it. There's the old-fashioned pineapple cake. Now I want to point something out to you. So if you can see it. See all this right here? This is that syrup that's gotten hard on the side of the, the mixer beating it. And by the way, you do need to beat it on high. And you really can't avoid that. But know that that's normal to have that splash up on the sides like that. But anyway, there it is, egg white icing, and I think people call this white mountain frosting now. I'm not sure. I just call it egg white icing. But anyway, it makes a really pretty cake. And we do store ours in the refrigerator now. It will not freeze well. I'll tell you that right up front. It just does not freeze well at all because the egg whites kind of disintegrate really. All right, so there it is. We will see you next time. And we're not going to cut this right now because we haven't had our lunch. So anyway, we'll see you next time.